So I don't know if you've noticed, but we live in a world of noise. Noise, 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 noise. Whether it's the TV and news, it's notifications, it's our phone ringing, it's opinions, not that you have any, music, we have TV, we have radio, podcasts, we have our internal commentary, spiritual commentary. You know, even our prayers can be noisy, you know? There's just so much noise. And yet, all of the great spiritual traditions point to one thing, and that is not to have more words or effort or striving, but for the silence. They're all sharing. Go to the silence. And the silence is not the absence of sound. It's not the absence of sound. The silence is the presence of that one life that is breathing us. The presence is what, well, I guess the presence wanted to make sure it was known through the light. So in the Hebrew scriptures, Elijah encounters God, Spirit, and it's not through the wind or the earthquake or the fire. Elijah encounters God through the still, small voice. And Jesus, the great way-shower and teacher, often went away into the solitary places and the silent places, away from the crowds, away from the noise, to connect with the divine within, to meditate, to listen to the voice within. And here at Unity, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who are the co-founders of Unity, they say that entering into the silence is a foundational spiritual practice. In fact, Charles Fillmore used to sit in his rocking chair, and he said he was going to headquarters, right? That was his place of silence. And even, I believe it was, not Emerson, who's the great inventor? It starts with an E. Edison, thank you. I'm like, near. Edison used to sit in a rocking chair and go into the silence, and he would hold a rock in his hand with a bucket underneath. And as he would close his eyes and go into the silence to listen to Spirit giving him thoughts and ideas, if he fell asleep, he would drop the pebble, and it would land in the bucket, and it would wake him up. So the silence is not, again, the absence of sound. It's not suppressing your thoughts. It's noticing your thoughts. It's not like, I gotta stop thinking. I tried that once, and all I did was think even more. Anybody ever do that? You go, oh, I'm gonna do silent meditation, and your mind's like, Brr. All I know is that when I did the, I told my mind, think every thought you can think. And my mind shut up. So if that is, it works for you, it was reverse psychology on my mind. So silence is not spiritual bypassing, and it's also not pretending that everything is fine. It's not empty, it's actually full, and it's a very receptive time. It's choosing to stop speaking long enough to be able to hear the voice that's speaking within us all the time. In the book, Daniel Neal Walsh, Conversations with God, at the beginning, he's having a conversation with the divine, and he's writing, and the divine is writing back. And at one point, God says, I'm always speaking, but who's listening? Who's listening? So I'm going to tell you that there was a farmer that was out working in his barn. He had a watch that wasn't an expensive watch, but it had sentimental value. It was his father's watch. And he was out working in the barn, and he lost his watch. And so he was not happy with this, and so he went searching through the hay and looking everywhere and all around, and he was very upset because he couldn't find this watch. So there was some kids playing outside, so he invited the kids. He said, "Whoever can find my watch, I will give you a reward." And so the kids were really happy, and they came running in, and they're going through the hay and going everywhere through the barn, and they cannot find the watch. So they all come out, and they can't find it, and the farmer's about ready to give up when one little boy comes along and says, "Can I go back in and just try to find it again?" And he looked like a sincere little boy, so the farmer said, "Yeah, go ahead." So the little boy goes in, and about 5 minutes later, the little boy comes out holding the watch. And the farmer was so happy, and he said, "How did you find the watch?" And the little boy said, "I didn't do anything. I just sat down and I listened. I just sat down and listened, and I heard the ticking of the watch, and I was able to find it." So it's, again, going into the silence, we can find things. There's things that are wanting our attention, but are we silent enough? So be still and know that I am God. One of the famous sayings. You know, the question isn't whether Spirit is speaking to us, it's are we listening? And I love this quote by Rumi. "I have been a seeker, and I still am. But I have stopped asking the books and the stars. I started listening to the teaching of my soul." You know, we have more wisdom, but we are not taught that we have the wisdom and all the answers inside of us. So there's two kinds of noise, right? There's the outer noise and there's the inner noise. And sometimes the inner noise is louder than the outer noise. The good thing about outer noise is we can often turn it down or turn it off. Inner noise, not so much. It's a bit trickier. The mind, now I know this doesn't happen for you, but it narrates everything. It's telling us what is going on. It narrates, it says, oh, what they meant was this, or what might happen is this, and this is what went wrong, and this is what I would think should happen next. And then there's the inner critic that's loving to tell us, you didn't do that right, or you should have done this. Oh, and none of you do judgment of others, right? Especially when you're driving, you know, and there's things, and we're having commentary about everybody and everything. The silence actually invites us to go beyond and below the narrating mind, to go below it. You know, you look at a water, like a lake. I used to live in Lake Tahoe, and there was times where it gets rough, right? The wind is kicking up, and you've got the waves on the surface. But I'll tell you what, you go into the water, and it's silent. It's quiet, but you have to go beyond the surface. You need to go below. So silence isn't to eliminate our thoughts. Again, it's not to notice our thoughts and to remember that we are not our thoughts. We're not our thoughts. We have thoughts, but we attach to them, right? Do you attach to thoughts? Yeah, and sometimes you get obsessed on a thought where it just goes around and around and around like a little hamster on a wheel. Yeah. In the silence, we can remember the truth of who we are, that we're not powerless, that we have answers, that we are not alone. Sometimes, however, silence can feel uncomfortable, right? What happens when we become silent? What might come up is, let's say that there's unresolved grief. We might have grief that is going to come up when we're quiet. Maybe some of our fears show up. Maybe it's our loneliness that shows up. And so we don't want to feel any of these other feelings, so we keep the noise going and stay busy. Hello, anybody? Besides myself, right? We have old stories, and so silence isn't always peaceful at the beginning. And actually, the silence is a gift because it's revealing. It reveals so we can heal. If I don't pay attention to what's buried inside and don't allow it to come up, I can't heal it. It just stays buried, and then I wonder why I have an ache in my leg or my foot or whatever, right? Because it's things that don't get expressed or brought forth get clogged up in our bodies because it's the body-mind connection. So in the silence, you don't need an hour. You don't need incense. You don't have to have the perfect mood and the lights, and right? All you need to do is to sit, breathe, and just listen. It's simple. And what would it be like if you did that before you said something that you didn't think was you were in an argument, right? You're in a conflict. Or what if you did that before you sent that email telling somebody what you thought? What if you just took that moment to be in silence and listen before you did something that you might regret, before you defend yourself, before you start to explain yourself? Take that breath and simply listen. What it does is silence gives us a moment to not react. If we pause, and that's why they say count to 10, because you're hopefully pausing enough that you can regroup and not act, but you can respond. So we're going to go into the silence because my talking about it does not do anything for us. And we're going to show a video by Jack Fowler. It's called In the Silence. And then we'll be going into some meditation. So you can watch the video. Please keep my earpiece on just because you can watch the video, or you could close your eyes and just listen to the words. There's no right or wrong, but halfway through, if you haven't closed your eyes, I will invite you to close your eyes. So, in the silence. Just breathe.
In the silence there is peace.
If we could dim the lights too, please.
In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's from a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence, I find God, I find myself. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release from a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find myself.
If you haven't closed your eyes, I invite you to close your eyes now and listen. Just listen.
So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find God, I find myself.
Please keep your eyes closed and the lights dim.
I have a 134
And
IQ. I make less money than friends who barely
Isn't that interesting? And the lights down low. We don't need anything except eyes closed and breathing. Taking breaths, just notice. Notice your body, your feet. Notice your hands. Notice any place that you might be holding any tension and just breathe into those spaces. And so let us take a deep, slow breath in together and release it gently. Again, breathing in, breathing out. And another full breath in. And a soft, complete release. Begin now by simply noticing the sounds. Just noticing the outer sounds. Now, I invite you to be aware of your mind and any inner sounds, any thoughts. Just notice them and let them pass on by. And now imagine that you're sitting next to a gently flowing river. The river represents your thoughts. You just watch the thoughts as they move downstream. You are awareness just watching. You are not your thoughts. Bring your attention back to your breath. The coolness of an inhalation. The warmth as you exhale. And imagine yourself settling deeper with each breath. And now imagine that there's a deeper layer beneath all of the sounds, beneath the outer noise and the inner commentary. A quiet field, a still presence. Be aware of this presence. Just listening, not needing to hear anything. Present to the breath, present to the presence. Notice a sense of peace and spaciousness as you relax into this quiet presence. And now silently ask, Spirit, what would you have me know? What would you have me know now? And then simply listen. Gently begin to notice your breath again. Feel the air moving in and out. Notice your body in the chair and your feet on the floor. Carry this awareness with you. Even when the world becomes loud, there's always a deeper silence beneath this noise. And you can return to it. You can return to this presence by sitting, breathing, and listening. You can return to the divine love that is in your every breath. let us remember to spend time in the silence so we can return to love. Return to love. And so you may open your eyes or just listen to the next song. Opening our hearts, returning to love.
Everybody's got a story. Lord knows I've got mine. All our pain and all our glory, all the masks we hide behind. I'm standing here in wonder at my faith in things unseen, holding back or diving under. There is no in between. Everything's a lesson and everyone's a mirror, no matter where I am. When my heart is open and my mind is clear, I know I can. Oh, return to love, return, return to love. Oh, return to love, return, return to love. I'm deconstructing my defenses and dismantling my pride, making peace and mending fences with who I am inside. When I let myself go deeper, love is closer than my breath. My master and my keeper are beating right here in my chest. Everything's a lesson, everyone's a mirror, no matter where I am. When my heart is open and my mind is clear, I know I can. Return to love, return, return to love. Oh, return to love, return, return to love. Everything's a lesson and everyone's a mirror in everything I do. My heart is open and my mind is clear. Now I'm asking you to, oh, return to love, return, return to love. Oh, return to love, return, return to love. Return, return, oh, return to love, return, return to love, return, return to love, Return, return to